This podcast is a 98 Studios production.
Today's the day, baby.
Today's the day.
Today's the day.
Today's the motherfucking day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day. What up, everybody? Welcome back to Today's the Day with Zack Anderson. And today, you guys are going to sit down with me and we're going to go over, I think, one of the most important topics on the planet. I think one of the most influential, one of the most important, and I'll kind of dive into it. But to give you guys a little preface on this and a little glimpse into where I get the information I get, because everything you hear from me is just regurgitated from somebody who's a lot smarter than me. But I've been very, very fortunate in my life to be surrounded by, in my opinion, one of and some of the greatest leaders of all time. The people that I've gotten the chance to watch lead and be led by, in my opinion, have mastered the art form. And I say that because they've also gone and taught me what it takes to be a good leader and what good leadership is, so on and so forth. And in my career, I've been very lucky. I've been able to work with brilliant minds like Casey Baugh, Todd Peterson, Brad Rossiter, Jeff Mendez, Bodie Gardner, Jared Young, Cody Vabel, some of the greatest people of all time, Kenny Cox. And I've just kind of watched and listened and done my best to learn. And then I've also gone and done my part in trying to learn from books, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, just some of the greatest books on leadership, attending the Tony Robbins events. And in all of that, I've cultivated kind of an idea of what I think leadership is and the purpose of it. And I practice this. I still practice this as my full-time job is leading a massive group of sales reps at Sunrun. And kind of my history with leadership. I got into it really, really young at 19 years old. I was helping manage a full direct-to-home sales team for Vivint Smart Home, which is the largest door-to-door smart home sales force. Ran a very successful team. My first year, second year, we went and doubled down and doubled in size. And I was one of the youngest in my role. And then I officially became the youngest regional at Vivint at 23 years old. So I was a regional sales manager managing multiple different teams. And that obviously converted to a lot of monetary success and honestly influence to go help other people find the same thing, which is for me kind of my purpose right now. So this subject's incredibly important to me. And it's very, 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 monumental in my life, I would say. So leadership is what we're going to talk a little bit about. And I'm going to go give everyone kind of two pieces of what I believe. The first piece is what leadership is, which we'll dive into, what leadership is and how you gain leadership, or influence is a better word. And then what's the purpose of it? Like, what's the point once you have this influence and once you are a leader? Like, what's your purpose then? And what's your job? What do you owe to the people that you lead? So first and foremost, I've got my notes on it, and this is just coming from me observing. To be very clear, this is coming from me observing people who, in my mind, are the greatest leaders and who impacted me massively. Because at the end of the day, I believe that's kind of the purpose of a leader. And also, this is my opinion, so take it as you may, and hopefully it aligns with your opinion as well. But I would say this. I would say I've always been told since the very beginning by all of these great leaders in my life, leadership is influence. It's not a title. It's not a role. It's not regional or manager or whatever. It's influence. How much influence do you have over people? It's nothing more and nothing less. So if that's true, then what a true leader does is they gain influence. First and foremost, they have to gain influence to hold that honor of being a leader, right? And gaining influence is a very, very unique thing because, in my opinion, my experience, influence and trust are gained in drops and lost in buckets. So it's very, very hard to go gain influence and trust. And you have to do a lot of things. I'm going to tell you some of those things, but it's lost in buckets. And if you go and you break kind of these standards that leaders have to uphold, and you break trust, or you go and do something that's not leader-like of you, right? You lose a lot of influence and a lot of trust, and it takes a lot of time to build it back up. So understanding that principle has also helped me a lot be patient with my leadership and realize, okay, I may be the manager, but I don't have influence yet. And it might take me months to go and get the influence, but I need to make sure I am absolutely as close to perfect as I can be as a leader so I don't lose that influence. And then when I have shortcomings, I need to be very, very, very bold in telling everyone where I fell short, and then I need to take full responsibility for it. And I think that's the only way to kind of band-aid that. But this is what I would say. The ways that you gain influence is, number one, you inspire. You need to inspire the people that you want to have follow you. They need to have some type of desire to be like you, or be in your position, or make the money you make, or perform the way you perform, or anything in that realm. You need to inspire the people that you want to have follow. You need to inspire them. The next thing is you need to connect with them. You need to spend the time and the effort and the energy to go connect with the people that you want to have influence over. If you can't connect to the people who are in the trenches, who are in the big picture, the newest people who are at the bottom of the totem pole because they haven't really gone and like built their way up, if you're not willing to go take the time to connect to those people, you'll disconnect from the group as a whole, because the people make up the group. So you need to be able to inspire, you need to be able to connect, and then you need to be able to pave the way, right? And paving the way, I would say is multifaceted, in the sense that, yeah, you need to go lead from the front, meaning anything you want them to do, you need to go do incredibly well first. And you need to make sure your people know that you would never ask them to do something or spend time that you aren't willing to spend on their success and your success as well. So you need to go pave the way in that sense. And sometimes I think paving the way in a more literal sense is, if you're walking into a battle, or you're walking into a challenge that is completely out of the norm for you, or it's a new battle and you have no idea how it's going to turn out, right? Like, for example, like starting at a new company, right? Or starting with a new challenge that you've never faced. You need to be, when I say pave the way, you need to be the person at the front lines, willing to go take the most amount of risk, and have absolute certainty and confidence that if you and your people go do your very best, you'll come out on the other side victorious. And paving the way sometimes is the hardest part, because you may not know for sure. You may not have that confidence and that certainty, and you have to go find it. You need to go get the information. You need to go find that certainty and confidence to go pave the way while leading from the front, so all of your people can be inspired. And then you need to be connected to your people so they know you empathize with them and you can connect with them and feel where they're coming from. That way they don't feel so disconnected. Like sometimes in leadership and in roles, leadership comes with titles occasionally where you might be in a totally different role than the people you're leading. Like in my example, in my role being a director, I'm no longer full-time knocking on doors selling accounts, right? And if I'm not connected with those people who are doing that, they're going to go feel a sense of disconnect, and then my words have no weight. Right? So there's multiple ways to connect. There's multiple ways to inspire, and there's multiple ways to pave the way. But I think if you do those three things, you go gain massive influence, right? And I would say, when I say influence, I challenge you to think of influence and trust as one, right? You also have to go and earn trust. And I think those three things are ways that you can earn trust. And then just the obvious other ways: be honest. Don't ever say something and not do it intentionally. And if you accidentally go and fall short in some way, or you're not entirely honest on something accidentally, like you go think this is how it's going to be, and then it ends up not being that way, but you communicated that to your people, you need to go and own that as a leader. You need to go and to your people, go to the front lines, stand up there in front of everyone and say, hey, I'm really, really sorry I made a mistake right here. This is how I thought it was going to be. This was completely unintentional, but this is how it actually is, right? And I think that's a way to preserve trust, even though you can't always be perfectly right. So at that point, now you're in this position where you have influence, you have trust, you have this group of people who follow you. Now, what's your job? Like, what's the point in getting to that point? Like, what's the reason behind it? Like, what are your duties to all the people who are following you? And I think there's a few things. Like, I think to wrap it up into one answer of like what your job is as a leader, your job is to go and believe in anyone who follows you way more than they believe in themselves, and hold them to such a high standard that they break through lids that are in their mind. So you go and you hold them to a standard that's so high they never thought they could live. And then once they break through that, you hold them to a new standard, right? And you go and lift lids and help people go do way more than they ever thought was capable through belief, consistency, so on and so forth, right? I think that's your job as a leader. Your job as a leader is to go and gain that influence and inspire and everything like that. And then once you have that, now your job is to go push people through their limits on all fronts of life and promote growth in all aspects of life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. That's your job as a leader in my mind. And that's when I'm thinking about being a good leader and I'm trying to go and understand, like, am I doing my job well and fulfilling? That's the question I ask myself. Am I going and promoting and pushing guys to grow in all four of those quadrants? And if I am, I feel really, really fulfilled and good. And you can go change people's lives, which is very, very cool and very powerful. So I would challenge you guys to think about that. That's what leadership is. And in my mind, that's what you're supposed to do with leadership once you have it. I'm reading a really cool book right now. It's called Above the Line. And there's this is kind of a side note as you're going and building this out and trying to go be a leader, or as you're watching your leaders. Maybe this will help some reps have more appreciation for their leaders, and people who have leaders in their company, maybe you'll appreciate what they do a lot more, because they may not be doing the exact same job as you every single day, but if they're a good leader, they're doing things that are going to benefit you way more than them doing the exact same job as you. But this book I'm reading, it's called Above the Line, and it's an amazing book. And there's a really cool thought in it. I'm not done with the book yet, but I added this to my notes as well. The book's by Urban Meyer, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And it says a lot of people miss the mark on one of the two things when they're trying to go build a successful team or trying to go lead a successful team. They'll either go and have excellent systems, or they'll go and have excellent culture. And the formula to have a winning team as a leader, right? And you can look at this in all aspects. You can look at your company as a team. You can look at your team as a team. You can look at your region as a team, is to go and have excellent systems in place. So excellent training, excellent schedule, excellent everything across the board systematically. But then nearly just as important or more important, you need to also have excellent culture, because that will back up the excellent systems. Your culture has to be a culture of willing to do whatever it takes, right? Because sometimes excellent systems and the systems that it's going to go take to win a championship or to go and win in the business world, they're going to be very, very, very over the top seeming. And if your culture is an average culture and your people take on this identity of being average, they are not going to go follow the excellent systems. They'll last for a little amount of time, then they'll fizzle out, and you'll start losing buy-in to your excellent systems if you don't have an excellent culture. But if you have a culture where you're winners and your group knows you win at all costs, and you make it happen, and you problem solve, and you're positive, and you work the hours, and you do whatever it takes, that's the type of culture that's going to continue to show up for 2-a-days. That's the type of culture that's going to continue to work the 12-hour days. That's the type of culture where they'll go do one more rep to go and help the entire team win the championship, or whatever it may be. You have to have excellent culture to back your excellent systems. And if you don't have one or the other, it's a very finite amount of time that you'll go and find success. It's very temporary. So that's my challenge for everybody out there. Leadership is one of the most fulfilling things in the world. It's so much fun, and it's also so much work. Like, you signed up for it. If you're in a leadership position and you want to go and play any part in someone else's success in their life, you asked for the hard stuff. You asked for the extra work and the extra weight to be on your shoulders. So go and fulfill as best you can, and lean on people when you need to. But your job as a leader is to go make it happen. So that's my challenge to all of you guys. And one little funny one-liner, I guess, that I would leave you guys with on this one. There's this t-shirt, actually, Casey Ball gave me when I was 19 years old, and it was on the back of my office chair for so many years. It's down in my garage hanging up now. And it says, it says 2 quotes on it. It says, if you wanted to make everyone happy, you shouldn't be in leadership. You should sell ice cream. And that stuck with me a lot, because I'm kind of a softie and I'm overly nice most of the time. And as a leader, sometimes you're gonna have to be the bad guy. And then on the other side of the shirt, it said, leaders save more lives than doctors. And this is no diss to anyone who's a doctor or in that field at all, but it's crazy. Good leaders saved my life 100%. They changed everything about my life, and I'm grateful forever for it. And I think it's super true. You have the opportunity to go impact people's lives immensely if you have influence over them. So use the influence to go do something good and push growth, like I was talking about. So I hope that's somewhat insightful as to either what your role and duty is as a leader. I hope that's a reminder, or I hope that shows you guys how hard your leaders are working, and you can go and judge for yourself like, dang, I feel like these dudes freaking bleed, sweat, and cry to make sure the systems are in place and the culture's in place for my success to go thrive. And if that's the case, then take a second, write that leader a handwritten note and tell them thank you. Like, you have no idea how much that means. There's nothing more valuable to me than those notes I've gotten over the years, and the appreciation I've gotten from the people I'm lucky enough to go lead. So for anyone who I've ever had a chance to lead, I love you. You know exactly who you are. And for anybody who's ever been a big leader to me, and a lot of you probably don't even know it, I love you. I'm so grateful for you, and you've changed my life. So thank you guys for tuning in. This is a quick solo episode as always. And until next time, much love. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. As always, it was a blast for me. I hope you got something out of this. If you got something out of this video of value, share this with a friend, and please go show your love. We're on all streaming platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Any ratings, comments, likes, shares, they go a very long way, and they make it so I can keep doing these things for you, and I would appreciate it greatly. So please go share with a friend. Until next time.